Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Federation Press in Australia, and it's an important book, both nationally for that country and the continent of Australasia, and also I think internationally for what it does, its persuasive influences, and in fact a statement of law which I find fascinating as a person who practices law in England and Wales. The title of the book is Hunt on Mining Law of Western Australia. 5th edition from Michael Hunt with two other people helping him, Tim Kavanagh and James Hunt. As I say, it's a hardback from Federation Press. Elizabeth and I have looked at the book and we gave it a title of interest to international lawyers, a practical guide to the mining law of Western Australia. Let's look at the book first and then we'll look at the review. There's the book, front cover, deep blue. There it is, a heavy book. There's the spine, there's nothing on the back. It's beautiful paper, lovely paper, and it's heavy, it's glossy. Now the index at the back has reference. Actually, it has paragraph numbering as references, not page numbering, so that's how you find things. It's quite a detailed index actually at the back, and you can see here at the when I get to it, there we go, you can see how it starts. Now at the front, that is the first main front page, then you've got the list of chapters. 20 main chapters in total. There's some information about the book there, but those are the 20 main chapters. Then you've got detailed contents, which goes through in some detail. Then what you've got after that is a useful preface from Michael Hunt, and then after that you've got some detail about the three authors, explaining who they are. This is the 5th edition, so it's been around for a while. It's a first-class book. It's an authoritative book, and you know it's a statement of law. That's the table of cases you've just seen, quite a lot of them. Then you've got statutes, of course, and then you've got a whole range of other bits and bobs. But they're the statutes, and then we finish there. We go straight in to the introduction to the subject, which is here. You can see how the statutes are structured on the basis upon which they are actually structured. Then we get to the introduction itself. It says, this chapter commences with a brief historical introduction to mining law in Australia in general, and continues with a more detailed history of mining law in Western Australia. And it is really fascinating. It's actually very well written, this book. And one of the reasons I liked it is because I don't understand a lot of this stuff. I just the basic principles. But I thought, well, I'll have a look at this. And when I started out, I thought it was really interesting. A fascinating piece of history, of course, but also the legal principles are interesting. Now, you do have a lot of footnoting, which I think is great, and that's very helpful. And you do have, of course, the paragraph numbering, and that's how you can find things via the index at the back. And as I say, just opening it in the middle, general provisions relating to mining tenements. So there's a lot of information here, and it's really, I think, a tremendous guide for this particular type of law in this particular state. But let's talk about the book from our perspective and what we thought of it, and to highlight it from complete outsiders who found this book of interest to read. What's in a word? Well, quite a lot if you're a lawyer, particularly one who's involved with the mining industry, and in this case it's Australia, specifically Western Australia. Now, so the book, now in its 5th edition, is rightly, I think we can describe it as a definitive work written with the intention of providing a practical guide for those involved in this area of law within this jurisdiction, although much of its contents would be applicable and eminently useful in other jurisdictions as well. Hence my introductory comments that it's of wider application. Now, to those of us whose acquaintance with the mining industry has been at best infrequent, this book is something of a revelation, page after page producing more than a few enlightened insights. Take the definition of the word mine, for example, and contemplate the significance of a word. The words mine and mining are of special legal significance, as precisely defined and expanded upon in Australia's Mining Act, which is discussed in detail in the book. Obviously, the meaning shifts, excuse the expression, depending on whether mine is used as a noun or a verb. It's also apparent, somewhat surprisingly, that the word mining also refers to and encompasses the word exploration, which I think probably many people would use as an interpretation of that word if one thinks about it. The legal ramifications of all these are multitudinous, but carefully clarified in this book, which is well known internationally as an important work of reference, distinguished for its clarity throughout, as well as thorough, copious footnoting. And thankfully, as I've said before, it's very easy to read. And that makes a change, because some of the law books we have, not the easiest things to get along with. Its three authors are certainly expert persons in their own field in this area of law, and we thank them very much for sharing their understanding with us. It's very, very useful. The eponymous Michael Hunt, who's practiced mining and petroleum law in Perth for over 40 years, is internationally known as a leading mining lawyer, with a dizzying array of specialist credentials. He's regularly named, for example, in the International Bar Association's Who's Who Legal Mining Lawyers and so forth. So he's got quite an interesting accolade there. But I do say this is really, he's given us a tremendous amount of learning, and we're very grateful. Thank you for that. Co-author Tim Kavanagh is a Senior Resources Native Title and Litigation Lawyer. Interesting titles there. With over 30 years experience both as a private practitioner and in-house counsel. So again, coming to us with a good rare pedigree here. James Hunt too offers a diverse range of experience in this field and is a member of the Western Australia Committee of AMPLA, the Resources and Energy Law Association, of which Michael Hunt is a former president and founding member. Now let me conclude by saying I'd like to thank Federation Press for producing these books. Like the same books we have published in the United Kingdom and England and Wales, if we don't have these books, it makes our jobs much more difficult. So I do thank the professionals for the time they've put in to produce the work, a huge amount of effort put in, and the fact that they've given us their knowledge and experience, because it does make it easier, and so thank you. What we've got here is the book's published by Federation Press. It's a new edition which reflects the major changes to the Mining Act, the mining regulations and recent case law pertaining to Western Australia, so that you have obviously things that have taken place recently since the publication of the last edition in 2009. A lot happens in sort of 5-6 years in any event. Nonetheless, the general orientation, we say, and the ambience of the book is nothing if not international in its theme, and therefore extremely helpful, we think, to specialist practitioners involved in the mining industry worldwide, particularly in common law jurisdictions. So thank you to everybody concerned. Very grateful for the effort you've put in. The law is stated, I love this, as at a currency date of the 1st of July 2015. Well, I think we'd say the law as it is on, what date is it again, the 1st of July 2015. Thank you to all concerned. Just a quick look again, there it is. It's a heavy book. Just opening it, chapter 11, general provisions relating to mining tenements. You see there, then you've got things, priority registration and dealings and documentation. See, they've covered every point that you would expect to be covered, and more. And I found it quite interesting from thinking back to my time with the law of real property in this country and all of the interesting areas, these massive books that we had, and the difficulties I had both understanding it initially and then teaching it at a later stage. That's land law in England and Wales. But this book, I think, really does help. So thank you to all concerned. All the best. Bye-bye.